Good day, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to a step-by-step guide on how to avoid cabin fever, otherwise known as a Warframe video. And today we're back with a handy-dandy do-it-yourself guide on the next few mastery tests, covering the mastery tests 10, 11, 12, and 13. And eventually, we will have mastery tests for all of them, giving you easy access to how to do them all in a simple fashion with as ease of access as possible. Now, again, the harder tests, as with Master Rank 9, will have their own unique videos to them due to the more complex nature of them. But for the simpler ones, like the ones we're doing now, they'll be condensed down into a smaller format, into single videos with like 4 per video. And if you've seen the previous videos, you'll understand that the entire point of mastery and leveling up your mastery is to give you access to more weapons, to give you more standing, and to generally show just how much of a badass you are at Warframe. Starting with Mastery Rank 10. This is a fun one. This mastery test will test your accuracy at range, with a requirement to kill 15 enemies on the upper balconies. But here's the kicker. When you stand on a platform, it will then disappear after 8 seconds, plunging you to a fail state, unless you move to another platform. Similar to how the platforms work in those 2D side-scroller games you used to play. The idea here is that you want to spend as much time on each platform as possible and kill as many enemies as possible before moving to your next platform. So let's face it, the process here is easy and rather simplistic. But let's look at things that can make life easier for you if you're struggling. First of all, Titania can cheese this entirely by using her Razor Wing mode, and Devara can also use her Tripwire ability to make this entire mode trivial as well, allowing you to circumvent the entire need for the platforms in the first place. A hit scan weapon is ideal here. Weapons like Soma, Baza, Stradvar, anything with high capacity will work wonders. The enemies will generally die in 1 or 2 hits at most, so long as you're aiming in the general right direction, you shan't struggle too much. However, if you plan on taking this in the proper way, a big bit of advice is to pay attention to the platform you're stood on, and time out each one with your brain. The platform will start flashing quicker and brighter the closer it is to disappearing. Then when it's almost ready to disappear, you can bullet jump in the air as high as you can and start aim gliding. The aim glide will lengthen out the time you have before needing to land on another platform. Making as much time between platforms is vital here if you wish to succeed. Technically speaking, you have to kill 1.65 enemies per platform to succeed here. And realistically, with the time you have, that isn't too hard. Working from the outside platforms inwards will generally be the most concise way of doing this efficiently, but really this all comes down to planning your path. The last thing you want is to jump on a platform willy-nilly and realize you can't make it to the last platform left due to how you've laid your path. So testing this with Samaris, as with all mastery tests, is going to be very essential for you learning the process. But really, the entire process of this master rank is quite simple and straightforward, once you understand the mechanics behind it. The next mastery test is Mastery Test 11, and this is a fun one and often comes to be one of the more challenging tests in the early stage, at least from the outset and from an outside perspective. But this is very deceptively so, as really this is a hellishly easy test, and really, if you practice this before in Samaris' test rooms to plan out your path, it'll likely be that you'll never fail this. There are some elements you can do to help yourself here, which we'll talk about in a moment. But, in essence, you'll set out on a platform, and you'll have a limited amount of time. You need to get from one end of the assault course to the other before the time runs out. The course is very linear and will have a handy-dandy arrows all over the place to show you where to go. Certain segments cannot be progressed unless you shoot a red orb to open up the next portion or to initiate a mechanic to help you traverse the next area. Now, speaking of those juicy orbs, the time you have will be increased by 3.5 seconds for each orb you shoot, and in order to make it to the end quick enough, you will need to shoot them. Although not all of them must be shot, as is the example when you enter the indoor maze segment. There are a lot of optional orbs in here which act as a red herring, so really the best advice here is follow the arrows, follow the path, shoot the necessary orbs, and practice. So long as you practice this beforehand, you shouldn't struggle. However, there is some really good advice that can help take off some of the pressure, and that is to bring a beam-based weapon such as Ignis. Using Ignis or Atomos or just anything with a wide burst will mean you won't even need to aim to make sure you're able to top off your timer by popping the orbs. And hey, If you can't be bothered to do the test properly, and if you have Titania, well, you can use Titania's Razor Wing and trivialize the entire process by just flying to the exit. Yeah, they didn't really think about this test before they made Titania, did they? Mastery rank 12. Round and round we go. Where we stop, no one knows. This one's just silly, really. This test, like Master rank 10, will ask you to kill 16 enemies while traversing a constantly spinning carousel of lasers. Honestly, there is no difficulty here. Bring a weapon with high ammo capacity and always move. If you move around the platform in the direction of the lasers, whilst aiming backwards, you'll be able to see the lasers coming in your direction and avoid thusly to not get hit. And honestly, even if you do get hit, you're not going to take too much damage, and the only way to really fail here is to run out of time. Bringing a frame with high health and survivability can make this a lot easier as well, such as Rhino, Valkyr, Inaros, or heck, even Excalibur. But so long as you're able to soak the shots from the enemy firing at you, as well as also deal with the lasers, you shouldn't really be having too much of an issue here. The enemy, all of which will die pretty easy in 1 or 2 shots, even with subpar modding. Oh wait, there's also the fact that Titania can then trivialize the entirety of this test again, by being able to use Razor Wing mode to avoid the lasers entirely. You know, at this point, this guide might as well be called Mastery Test, a Titania's Folly. Simply put, this Mastery Test will require you to not get hit by lasers and kill the enemy on the platforms. So you can treat this very similar to the previous two the first Mastery Test we mentioned here. Master Rank 13 is exactly the same as Master Rank Test 10 in terms of what you have to do. You've got disappearing platforms, enemies on unreachable upper shelves. So really, you just treat this the same as you did then, but the only difference being is the positioning of the platforms and the fact the enemies are slightly higher level and you have slightly less time and you have to kill slightly more enemies. The main difference here being is that the platforms are stacked, which really makes it easier in my eyes, because the best way of doing this at this stage is just to jump to the middle, and as that first platform is about to disappear, do the bullet jump as mentioned for the Master Rank 10 guide, and just try and make as much time between each platform as possible. And although comparatively you do need to kill more enemies with high levels, this one requiring you to kill 16 enemies at level 22 isn't that much to ask for. And so long as you manage to master rank 10, you shouldn't struggle with this one. Again, the same methods that made the previous test easy work here too. Titania with the Razor Wing, Mesa with Peacemaker, or Zephyr with her charged Tailwind to get a elevated aim glide that allows you to stay in the air for longer. So that's some of the more simple mastery tests out the way. There'll be a number of these coming out in the near future. I hope you're finding them useful. I want to make sure there's this reference material out there for people to use to get a simplified version of these mastery tests. Even if they are so simple, even a child could do them, it's worth knowing, because knowing is half the battle. And again, you can always just go and test these via Samaris if you so wish. So, thank you very much for watching. Hope you enjoyed the video. Make sure to like, share, subscribe, and if you feel like joining in with the recording of these videos, we do record them on Twitch, where we stream every single day with Warframe and Escape from Tarkov. So if you want to come and join us, click that link, and also go follow my Twitter as well, which will be linked down below as well. And in the comments below, if you could let me know what your most preferred mastery test is, the one you found most enjoyable, I would love to know your opinions. So, I'll catch all of you top hatters in the next video. Ta-ra!